Thank you all for joining us. We're joined by our great friend Megan Barth of the Media Equalizer, ReaganBabe.com. Woman of the World, and let me make sure I get this. She's one, along with the folks at MediaEqualizer.com, one of the leading online watchdogs for the intersection of media, technology, and government. Megan, good to have you with us. I can say we knew you when.
Yeah, well, good to be back, Kevin. Thank you.
I don't know where we should begin.
I know. There's nothing to talk about.
Let's start with Omarosa.
Oh, boy. Okay. Well, her 15 minutes of fame is certainly up, isn't it? We haven't seen her mug splashed in front of a camera or behind a microphone. However, it does seem like that NBC is hell-bent on just keeping her alive because she has been appearing more so on the Clown Network, their news network, the MSNBC network, appearing with Sharpton, the tax cheat, and anybody else that wants to talk to her from NBC. But we aren't hearing much from her because she's absolutely untrustworthy. She lacks integrity, and her stories just didn't seem to match up with what she had said the day before. So when you tell the truth, you don't have to remember what you said, and she had a real hard time seemingly with the truth.
Well, what did you make of all these legitimate news organizations giving her this platform when, let's face it, she was on Celebrity Big Brother, she was not a nice person on The Apprentice? You know what I'm saying.
Well, I'm not surprised that the news network gave her a microphone and a camera because she was saying what they wanted to hear. She was only adding to their smear campaign that they have engaged in since Donald Trump came down the escalator. The media used to love Donald Trump. The Democrats used to love Donald Trump. And as soon as he ran against Hillary Clinton, he became a racist, a bigot, a homophobe, a xenophobe, and every other ism that they want to throw, or phobe that they want to throw at him. So it's not surprising that the mainstream media and Omarosa were getting along so splendidly at first because they have a lot in common. They lack integrity. They lack ethics. They obviously lack some morals. And they lie.
Right. Well, we're seeing that now with the Michael Cohen story. It's funny because, Megan, as we all know, you've been doing this for quite some time. They try to compare it to John Edwards. Well, John Edwards was taking money from Fred, God rest his soul, I can't remember his name, the guy who founded FedEx, using his private plane to ferry Riel Hunter and Andrew Young across the country. That money went to her, the president. And look, it's all speculation. Allegedly used his own money. And according to Alan Dershowitz, if you use your own money for your own campaign, there's no law that's broken. But that doesn't stop the folks from running with this and, when they're elevated, hyper-caffeinated voices saying, I'm serious, this is serious this time. And that's where you folks at the Media Equalizer come in.
Yeah, we watch the mainstream media and the fake news so you don't have to. And it's very aggravating, but we have to do it because, the mainstream media, like I said, has lost all credibility. They are nothing but an extension of the Democrat Party, or an extension of the Mueller investigation, or an extension of the Hillary Clinton campaign. Whatever Democrat they decide is going to be their basis for their continued smear, they're going to elevate. I mean, obviously they're not putting on Alan Dershowitz, right? I mean, he's a Democrat, but he's actually speaking the truth. He's looking at these things objectively. He is considering the source and being very pragmatic. You aren't going to find those qualities in the mainstream media. You aren't going to find those qualities in the Mueller investigation or Mueller investigation. The investigation so far has produced nothing of its original intent or foundation. Nonetheless, he does have a lot of latitude. Yet, when you look at how he came to power, and that would be Robert Mueller, his whole entire appointment was based on what I refer to as fruit of the poisonous tree. It was manufactured evidence. It was political opposition research paid for by Hillary Clinton. The evidence was then manipulated, the evidence was then used and put into a dossier and then presented to the FISA court as factual. It was presented as verified. When James Comey said the evidence was not verified, the dossier wasn't verified. So you can't have it both ways unless, of course, you're part of the Justice Department that is completely corrupted and was corrupted under Barack Obama. So what we're witnessing is just simply a weaponization of the extension of the Obama administration through the Department of Justice. Without Jeff Sessions anywhere to be found, we can expect that Mueller will continue to investigate or to try to find crimes in his investigation instead of investigating crimes that exist.
Well, is it time for Mueller to go?
Well, I've said that from day one. I said, the left is going to hate Trump and assault him viciously, verbally assault him, continue their rhetoric. So give them another reason to hate you. Fire them all.
Right.
Fire them all. Grant immunity and give pardons to whoever the hell you want. Manafort will be definitely a pardon. Because what we're witnessing of Manafort, too, and Cohen is separate, but Manafort, basically is a tax cheat. That's what they tell us. From over a decade ago, he owes $15 million. Well, what about Al Sharpton? Al Sharpton, the last I checked, owed the government $4 million. And I don't see Shepard Smith on Fox News, referring to him as, an enemy of the people who'll steal from the people. No, Al Sharpton has his own show on MSNBC and interviewing Omarosa. And then, of course, you have Timothy Geithner. Timothy Geithner was the head of the Fed, and he owed the federal government $2 million. And I don't think he's paid it back. I mean, I haven't checked lately, but, he was walking free. So this calculation of supposed justice is obviously a calculation based upon a justice system that is inherently, or at least over the course of time, has become corrupted, whereby you don't have equal application of the law. When you look at how much immunity was given out like candy at Halloween to the Hillary Clinton campaign and those around her for some very heinous crimes related to our national security. And then, of course, you have these charges that, maybe Trump said the N-word. Did he say the N-word? Can we find the tapes? Well, those tapes would have come out much earlier before the P tapes came out in order to destroy him. So now we, of course, are back to, he slept with some women and paid them off. And I really don't think that those types of charges are going to sink Donald Trump, because so far we've seen that his base is very strong. But if his base decides to stay home and not turn out in the numbers that he needs, if the Democrats do win the House back, the sabotage and the obstruction will continue in the way of impeachment hearings, and we'll get nothing done.
Right, indeed. And, of course, finally, your thoughts on that poor woman that was killed by the illegal. The press, they don't have a problem ginning things up when they talk about the illegal that was taking his wife to the doctor, probably didn't have health insurance to have a baby. Let's call it what it is, an anchor baby. And
there's 5 anchor babies.
Exactly. That's why you're the media equalizer. And then all of a sudden finding out that this guy's accused of being a murderer.
Right, and so they ran with the coordinated headline that ICE was ripping a husband away from his pregnant wife while he was driving her to the airport, and conveniently left out that they were both illegal and that he was wanted for murder by the Mexican government. That's the press. They were carrying the narrative of the Abolish ICE crowd, which is now the Democrat Party. But her name was Molly Tibbetts. And we need to refer to Molly Tibbetts every single day, much like Kate Steinle. Because the press doesn't want to talk about Molly Tibbetts. Elizabeth Warren doesn't want to talk about Molly Tibbetts. In fact, Elizabeth Warren was on CNN the other day, and she said, yes, we feel sorry for the family and, the community, and it's just really heartbreaking. But So throw out the apology. Just throw out all the words before the but, because that doesn't matter. You don't apologize and then say but. But Elizabeth Warren and her socialist ways. But the real issue, we must focus on the real issue. And the real issue is family separation. If you can believe that garbage.
Indeed.
Molly Tibbetts was permanently separated from her family by an illegal alien who stalked her, chased her, and brutally murdered her.
And thankfully, the president, Sarah Sanders, and others are addressing it very different from the Obama administration. Megan Barth, ReaganBabe.com, MediaEqualizer.com. Finally, how do you think we're ever going to get out of this morass that was 8 years of Obama? I mean, the indoctrination that they've done with the kids, the indoctrination they've done with society, the cultural contamination. How are we ever going to get America back?
Well, I really, I'm kind of the eternal optimist, I guess, because, I'm a Reagan babe and he was the eternal optimist, so I try to always find the silver lining in the cloud. I really love the new numbers that we're seeing lately based upon his economic policies, which are creating significant and historic strides in opportunity for minorities, something that the Democrats have used for decades, minorities. They've used the minorities. And now that the minorities, like the Black Americans and Hispanic Americans, are winning with the lowest unemployment numbers on record, we see that Black Americans approve of this president 36% just a couple weeks ago, compared to 19% a year ago. So that number has doubled. And so if we chip away and continue to chip away at Democrat strongholds through economic policies that create opportunity and give people more, I would say, pride in their daily life, whereby they can provide for their families, they can provide for themselves, they can go to work every day, we will continue to see these demographics, which normally the Democrats have used to their advantage, slip away. And this is why we're seeing the Democrats increase their charges of racism. Yet in the face of these charges, the Democrats have lost the black support by double, or Trump has gained black support by double, 36%. And so I think that this is not only why the Democrats are going crazy, but this is also why the Democrats now have turned their backs on the citizens of this country and have chosen illegal aliens as their new cause. Because how else better to create more dependency than import third world non-English speaking illegal aliens? That's a whole new class now, an underclass. And so as Black Americans continue to make huge strides and Hispanic Americans continue to make huge strides, I think we're going to see more and more people come into Trump's Republican Party with these favorability numbers. And as soon as the Democrats lose, I don't know, let's say 18 to 20% of the black vote, the Democrats are finished.
Megan Barth, MediaEqualizer.com, ReaganBabe.com. Thank you as always.
Anytime, Kevin. Thanks so much.
Thank you. You're listening to Kevin Miller on 107.5 FM, 580 AM, KIDO Talk Radio. Well, that was short. Kevin Miller in the morning here, KIDO Talk Radio. Phone number is 580-5436, 580-KIDO. And school safety is always a big concern. And I was just watching something they call the television, which is where the old people get their news and information. And there was a commercial that came on. And by the way, if you aren't so inclined, you can always follow us at Kevin Miller Show on Twitter and on Facebook at Kevin Miller Show, or me personally, Kevin Miller, where we share thoughts and ideas and such. And I just put this on my personal Facebook page, so if you're a Facebook friend, you'll see this. And this is, this is something that I think will get a lot of people talking. There is a real llama in this. There is the First Lady of Idaho in this, Lori Otter. And the message here to kids, the children, the students, is that if you see something, say something. Now, the Otters in the past have appeared with Otter the Otter to talk about canal safety. And when it comes to public service, the governor and the First Lady, they don't have a problem doing it. So the audio probably doesn't do the video justice, but it will get us talking a little bit about school safety. So here we go. By the way, again, Kevin Miller on Facebook. The video has been posted there as well.
If you saw someone or something in your school that didn't quite fit, you'd want to say something, wouldn't you? Did you know that there's a llama, a cement mixer? Did you know that there's a stranger in the hallway? And do it immediately.
Join the See Tell Now team and protect our schools and the people in them.
There's a llama in front of my
Big,
mom.
hairy one. A message from the Idaho Office of School Safety and Security.
Well, again, that's on our Facebook at Kevin Miller Show, or Kevin Miller on Facebook. So, and we see what the folks are trying to do. You know, a little humor. Sometimes kids are oblivious, like we were at that age, or like we are, like adults are sometimes. Sometimes you need someone to give you a good pinch to the side to wake you up, whether it's during a lecture or church or something of that nature. So the point here is that if you see something, say something. Yesterday in Meridian, they have this newfangled security device thing where it malfunctioned. And lo and behold, how scary it must have been for one of the first days of school where the security thing malfunctions and you have the worst case scenario. Now, again, we urge people, as people are getting up, going to school, to be very careful. And it's so easy for me to say it. It's even more important that all of us as loving adults that want to make sure that kids and other loving adults are around a lot longer than they could be if there's an accident, practice what we preach. But you talk about a scary situation, and you remember how the school year ended, where it was all about safety. And then we had the media. And this is where I agree with Dave Petzo to a degree when it comes to the media. You know, if it bleeds, it leads. You have to sell it. Earlier this morning, we had Alan Dershowitz going toe-to-toe with Hallie Jordan or Hallie something from MSNBC. And just the way she was yelling at him, trying to get that viral moment. And really, isn't that what the media and all of us have become? That viral moment where all of a sudden everything has to go viral. And, you know, if we went viral, if we, you know, had that big moment, all of our problems would be solved. All of our problems would be solved. And that's really what it is. It's not about the truth anymore. It's about going viral. And so here we have the media during the school shooting incidents, you know, ginning everything up, going back and forth and everything else, scaring the heck out of people. And really, if we hadn't been going to school, if we hadn't been talking to the folks, doing our own thing, then we would have bought the media hype. But you have that situation in Meridian and in other places. So at 580-5436, 580-KIDO, how secure do you see our schools here in the Treasure Valley? How secure is it when you're taking a look at this? Right? Like I said, at 580-5436, 580-KIDO, I don't know if the audio does it justice, and having the llama there, basically it's just, look, this is it's so crazy, it's so out of the ordinary. How can you ignore a llama in your school? But these things happen all the time. If you haven't heard it, we'll share it with you in a minute. By the way, on my personal Facebook, and people have reminded me you have to be my friend to get on it. So send me a friend request. I'll take care of it. 26 after the hour, KIDO Talk Radio. Kevin Miller in the morning. Traffic and weather together.
Larry Gabbard.
Kevin Miller in the morning here, KIDO Talk Radio. Back to this issue of how secure are your schools?
If you saw someone or something in your school that didn't quite fit, you'd want to say something, wouldn't you? Did you know that there's a llama, a cement mixer? Did you know that there's a stranger in the hallway? And do it immediately.
Join the See, Tell, Now team and protect our schools and the people in them.
There's a llama in front of my
Big,
mom.
hairy one. A message from the Idaho Office of School Safety and Security.
Kevin Miller in the morning here. So, see something, say something. That's one issue. Number two, but is that enough? For me personally, my own personal opinion, the only way you're going to keep communities safe is by having people that understand the responsibility of protecting one another. And it goes totally against the Obama-induced mentality that we've seen in the last 8 years previous to Trump saving America. You know, how was the West won? How was the East won? How was America won? Peace through superior firepower. And it's never, if you've ever noticed, it's never the law-abiding folks that are the problems. And you're thinking to yourself, Kevin, you're scaring me. Well, look, they had the situation in Meridian where the security system went bad. The security system is great. First responders are outstanding, but they can't be there in the blink of an eye. And what did we learn last school year when you had people stopping the bad people? It was people who took that responsibility upon themselves to make a difference. And that's not really talked about in the public eye. That's not really talked about, is it? Right? 580-5436, 580-KIDO. School safety. Are we skirting the issue when we're talking about guns in school? You know, a big news, what was it, a couple weeks ago? A teacher, what was it, in Twin Falls? He carries a weapon because he wants to protect his kids. Right? Shouldn't we be enforcing that behavior, reinforcing that instead of saying, well, we're doing everything we can? Is that enough? For me personally, when I see someone, one of our great friends, the Miller Militia or whatever have you, and they're carrying, I feel secure because there's a level of trust. Kevin Miller, KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning, Doug.
Good morning, Kevin.
Blessed to be a part of your day. Kevin Miller in the morning, KIDO Talk Radio. Coming up, Pete and Bob. But first, Jeff Manasso, KIDO Talk Radio on Fox News Radio or vice versa, from Chicago to talk a little bit about Urban Meyer, big news in the world of sports. But really, Jeff, isn't this a bigger story than being about college football?
What's the question? Is this a bigger story than college football?
Than just being about college football.
I mean, look, it's the hashtag Me Too movement. This follows some serious allegations about Ohio State University involving a sports doctor over the past couple of decades, and sexual abuse of students. We've covered Michigan State University and Dr. Larry Nassar. I covered Penn State and that abuse scandal extensively when I was on the East Coast. And it is something more. And in the hashtag Me Too movement, I think if anything good comes out of this story and others, it's just perhaps awareness. And if you see something, you have to say something.
Right. And Urban Meyer, this all started with Big Ten Media Days. He was asked about a wide receivers coach, Zach Smith, and all of a sudden he's suspended for 3 games along with the athletic director. He's been suspended, but this will be without any money. A lot of folks are...
Yeah. I mean, it's 3 game suspension. He's going to be just fine in terms of money. I think they're ranked 5th, and these first 3 games they'll probably be wins for Ohio State. The athletic director, Gene Smith, also suspended without pay for a couple of weeks. And this stems from a 2015 incident between Zach Smith and his wife, a domestic abuse situation that apparently Meyer, his wife, as well as Gene Smith, apparently knew about it, but failed to say something. And this goes to Ohio State's misconduct policy, which includes reporting allegations of domestic violence or other abuse made against university employees. And violating that policy would have allowed Meyer to essentially be fired for cause, according to the provisions placed in his contract. though the university in this 12-hour deliberation has found that, while a 12-hour deliberation, but prior to that, a $500,000 investigation, they basically found that while Meyer and Gene Smith did not follow the precise reporting requirements of their contracts, they did so based upon good faith belief that they didn't have sufficient information to trigger a reporting obligation. But this thing's dirty. You've got Jack Smith's attorney basically saying that Ohio State, Meyer, and Gene Smith were collateral damage for Courtney Smith's desire to seek revenge against her ex-husband. You've got some people that are angry that Ohio State didn't do enough, that they should have fired him. You got people saying that this is just a political witch hunt, a PC witch hunt, that had Urban Meyer's, name all over it. But, you talked about that media day, the Big Ten preseason media day here in Chicago, where he told reporters he didn't know anything about the incident involving Smith and his wife back in 2015. A couple of days ago, he admitted basically that he kind of lied. His exact words, I was not as complete and as accurate as I should have been, but, he denied intentionally deceiving anybody. But so here we are. He's suspended for 3 games, athletic director out for a couple of weeks as well. But I think you're right. It's bigger than football.
Well, people say the story might not be over.
Well, it might not be.
Yeah.
It might not be, but we'll see.
Boy, how about the writing of Brent McMillan, who started this whole thing, formerly of Brett McMurphy from ESPN, that started this on Facebook because ESPN let him go, and all of a sudden he's now at this other thing and just really blowing it up with his reporting. Well,
that's how a lot of these stories get out there and do explode. It's good reporting, and it's accurate reporting. It turns out Urban Meyer did know more, and that he probably should have done more. But in his apology, he says, "I led with my heart. I trusted this guy. I didn't lead with my head. I should have done better. I should have, demanded more and recognized the red flags." But when asked, if he had a message for Courtney Smith, then he basically said, "Look, I've got a message for everybody involved in this, and I'm sorry that we're in this situation."
Jeff Monosso, outstanding job. A very obviously sensitive topic today.
For sure. Absolutely. And Kevin, every day that goes by, we cover a new story, it seems, involving some sort of situation like this, where it's domestic abuse, sexual abuse. But my God, involving a university like this, Ohio State University, this is I think that this case pales in comparison to the other situation that they're dealing with involving former players and a former doctor. Again, Michigan State University, Penn State, it's happening, and I think that if any good comes out of this, it's going to be that people need to really think about this, and if you see something within your environment, you have to say something.
Jeff Monosso, thank you, sir.
You bet.
Pete in Mountain Home, you're on with Kevin Miller, KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning, Pete.
Kevin, a couple things. The NRA has a program called the School Shield program that they have experts on school safety that will work with schools to come up with the pragmatic security solutions, and they will provide grants to the schools to do this. And it's funded by NRA members. And any school that wants to find out about it, just go to nationalschoolshield.org. All one word, nationalschoolshield.org. And my personal feeling on the matter is a gun-free zone is really a notice that this is a defenseless victim zone. That's just telling some fruitcake that this is a free spot to go in and shoot people. And I don't understand why we trust our kids with teachers and school administrators and people that work in the schools, why you can't trust those people who get the training and know what they're doing to carry a concealed weapon and protect the kids. Being the first responder means you're the one right there. It doesn't mean calling 911 and waiting for 5 minutes. I do not understand why there are school administrators that I guess it's some sort of political issue with them. I don't know. And then the other thing is I want to thank Liberty Linda for her warning about the bumper bashers in Boise with the Trump stickers on your vehicle. My pickup truck has a Trump sticker. It's got a Save Freedom, Stop the Left sticker. It's got a Stop the Liberal Lies sticker. And now when I go into Boise, what I'm going to do is put my towing knuckle on the back of the truck. So if they want to bump my bumper, they can eat the towing knuckle. With their little Prius radiators.
Well, back to the point that we were talking about for people just tuning in, there is an active censorship that is going on to try and marginalize good, wholesome, conservative thought. And like I said, today is we've completed our 9th year here together. And I remember joking about this all the time when you had the homosexuals and the gays saying, hey, we're in the closet. And I said, well, don't worry about it. Sooner or later, the conservatives will be in the closet. Now everybody is out running wild and free except us.
Well, I have to say that doesn't apply in Mountain Home. You can run wild and free as a conservative in Mountain Home. One
of the rare places. I think Tea Party Bob will be looking you up. He's looking for a place to move.
Well, I'll tell you what. If he wants to see what it's like, the weekend after Labor Day, the Saturday following Labor Day, he should come over to our Air Force Appreciation Day parade, and he'll get a better feel for what Mountain Home is like.
Could be Mountain Home Tea Party Bob.
You betcha.
Pete, thank you.
Thank you, Kevin.
All right, have a great day. Our great friend Pete from Mountain Home. Bob in Caldwell on KIDO Talk Radio with Kevin Miller. Good morning, Bob.
Kevin, good morning. I called to compliment you and thank you for choosing to have Dinesh D'Souza on yesterday relative to his Death of a Nation book and movie. It's an extraordinary piece of work. He's more than gifted. I wasn't able to stay connected for the duration, but I thought I knew as much as I needed to know about the history of the whole thing, and I couldn't have been more wrong once I got into that book, saw the movie, and now I'm back carefully reading the book. He did such an extraordinary job of exposing the affinity that both FDR and Woodrow Wilson had for not only fascism, but the Marxism and socialism that has been with us now for 100 years, and separated the fiction and folklore that's been indoctrinated into our youth for the last 60 years. Our public doesn't know this. If I were an educator today in any institution from 10th grade forward, I'd have this be required reading and test on it and maybe make the result equal to a third of a student's grade for the year. I think it's just an extraordinary piece of work, valuable information. It'd really be great if everybody could see the movie, but more important to read the book, because then you'd have it with you. I just wanted to thank you for bringing that exposure forward. It's really an important piece of information for people.
Thank you, Bob. We'll do our very best to bring you more guests like Dinesh.
Thank you. Have a pleasant day. Talk to you later.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Brian in Meridian on KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning, Brian.
Hey, good morning. How you doing, Kevin?
Not bad. And you?
Oh, pretty good. Just I caught the tail end of that discussion with Pete there from Mountain Home, and as I jumped in the truck to go to work. But one thing that came to mind when he was talking about, we send our kids to school and we put our trust and faith in those teachers and educators, administrators, that they're going to keep them safe, but yet they don't allow them to have, concealed carry, that sort of thing. We have pilots, if you recall, on our airplanes that are carrying firearms now after 9/11, and that's a much more secure area than any of our schools are in the country. Yet we just overlook that, like that's okay, but can't have the teachers do it. I don't know. It sounds crazy to me.
Well, really, if it came down to it, though, isn't that the safest way that you can ensure to keep the kids safe? Brian, I don't know if you remember when they had this big brouhaha at Boise State about being able to conceal and carry on campus. You had people saying, well, the police will get there. Police said, we can't get there. The female, the female student saying, look, I was harassed by this guy. I felt unsafe. There's an uncomfortable trust in institutions and systems that really are more like fantasy, as opposed to if you have an active shooter, God forbid, at your place of work or my place of work, the police aren't going to get there to save you. They'd like to on time. You're going to have to figure out how to survive. And the best way...
even if they get there, did you see the recent video, body cam video that got released in Las Vegas?
No.
Just got released yesterday. Yeah, look that up. The police that were there were in the stairwell of the hotel for minutes, trying to figure out, like many minutes, trying to figure out what's going on with this guy while he's shooting. So even if they get there, it doesn't mean that they're actually going to do anything. Look at the shooting in Parkland. Those sheriff's deputies were outside the building and did nothing. So, you have to take your safety in your own hands sometimes, I think. And, people don't realize that. It's the old sheepdogs and wolves situation. Anyway, have a good one, Kevin. I'll talk to you later.
Thank you, Brian. Have a great day. And that's the point, what it comes down to. And that's not the discussion that the media will have. Sure, they'll cover the story about the malfunctioning alarm in Meridian High School. Sure, they'll tell us about, see something, say something. All very important. On the other hand, look, it's just you and me. The same conversations you have amongst like-minded folks. You want to keep people safe. You give them the ability to protect themselves, to arm themselves. Do we trust the individual or the institution? 580-5436, 580-KIDO. You're listening to 107.5 FM, 580 AM. Kevin Miller on KIDO Talk Radio.
Optics of all the president's men impact the president's ability to govern.
He always thinks he can survive. Why? Because he's been Houdini in the past. The question is this time, is Bob Mueller and Michael Cohen and Paul Manafort enough to trump his Houdini ways?
Capitol Hill still reeling from the Cohen plea and the Manafort conviction. A number of Republicans seeking to distance themselves from the president from his former associates turned felons, while Democrats are seizing the moment to throw up roadblocks for the president's Supreme Court nominee.
Democrats today demanding a delay in Brett Kavanaugh's nomination to the Supreme Court. Republicans who control the calendar dismissing that idea. Most Democrats steering carefully clear of the I word, impeachment.
President, do you think this is at the point where there should be conversations about impeaching President Trump?
I don't think it's that point in time.
The time could come if Democrats retake the House in the midterm elections this fall.
And some Democrats have already brought up impeachment hearings if they take control of the House after the midterms.
Some Democrats are also calling to delay the confirmation hearings for the president's Supreme Court pick, Judge Brett Kavanaugh, because he has said in the past he does not believe sitting president should be subject to criminal investigations.
As for impeachment, this White House does not fear Republicans, but knows that this week's events have vastly complicated the push to confirm Brett Kavanaugh to the Supreme Court and begin talks to avert a government shutdown. Jeff, both of those intensify next month.
There we have it from our friends at Newsbusters. Kevin Miller with you. I'd like to say good morning after that one. But here we have the folks in the media pushing the story. Now, again, I haven't heard the Democrats. I was watching the Whitney Houston documentary last night. What a waste of incredible talent she was. Boy, beautiful, incredible Whitney Houston. You remember her singing the national anthem at the Super Bowl. Just gifted. Anyway, I'm watching that. I didn't watch the news. I don't know if the Democrats have called for impeachment, but wink, wink, nod, nod, that's where they're going. That's what the media wants. The media wants to run this country. And they can't. They practically co-ran the country with Obama. They haven't with Trump. And maybe that's why they hate him and they hate us. Because they're not in charge anymore. Isn't that fun? Isn't that refreshing when you get to say to someone who has driven you crazy, like the media has driven us crazy for years and years and years, finally, Whether you leave voluntarily, hopefully, or involuntarily, you get to say, hey, you're not the boss of me. And that's what Donald Trump represents. And the media doesn't like it. The media doesn't like the deplorables getting out of the closet. They like everybody else out of the closet, but they want to put us in the closet. So they create this story. Manafort, Cohen, Mueller, Lanny Davis. A bunch of smoke, impeachment. As Donald Trump said, you heard that clip from Nehemiah. Impeachment for what? Well, he gave money for the whatever. It's his own money. Campaigns do that all the time. And really, it's a grave distraction from the good works going on. We'll talk about it next. 107.5 FM, 580 AM, KIDO Talk Radio, traffic and weather together. And coming up, apparently, there's some shenanigans going on in CUNA. And after looking at the monitor of some of our great, outstanding, award-winning local television stations, there's a stench in CUNA. Well, coming up, we're going to launch our own investigation because when you report, we decide on really what's going on in CUNA. And is there some type of stinky error in CUNA? I'd like to hear from CUNA and those around that great city next. First, Fox News on 107.5 FM, 580 AM. Your home for Fox News on the radio, KIDO Talk Radio with Kevin Miller. Good morning.